Hello, everyone, and welcome to the episode 27 of the Office Hours podcast. Tonight, we had a chance to talk a little bit about content creation and long and arduous path to a social media influencer success, so to speak, and what it takes into achieving any semblance of great result. We also talked a little bit about what drives people into this industry and how being your genuine self might benefit you in your personal brand, things of that nature, and along with some personal recommendations of the podcasts and the media that I consume online. So if you're interested in all of these things, we hope you stick around and enjoy. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the episode 27 of the Office Hours podcast. I'd like to welcome back Mo, and without further ado, let's get on with it. Hey, Mo, how's it been?
It's good. It's good. Thank you, Vasili. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Had a pretty busy day today. Pretty sweaty production deployment. Many moving parts. Kind of took a long time to sort everything out. We realized that we need much better logging to make sense of things, but have to have to get that sorted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a pretty good last week. We went to Big White for some skiing, snowboarding, which was quite nice. A welcome break. Although
hmm
this season is kind of weird. Like most local mountains are closed. Whistler is like, from what I understand, is like open like halfway. There isn't much snow at the base, and even a Big White, like everything was open, but you could see some trees poking through the snow a couple of places. So they don't have
mm
enough either. Yeah.
Like, I wonder, like, how those places are actually managed. Like, is there like supposed to be managed by the government or like the people or like, how do you keep this place running?
Well, I mean, it's a private company, right? Uh,
Oh, it's a company.
yeah. I don't know if they like lease the land from the government or they buy it outright, but Whistler Blackcomb got sold to some American conglomerate a couple of years back from Colorado called Vail. So now they're part of that system, which I don't know how I feel about it. They made some changes that I'm not a big fan of. Like they used to have like
So,
1 day passes that you
hmm
could buy in advance and save a little bit of money, and now the
hmm
minimum is 2 days. But Whistler is kind of a pain in the butt to do multiple days if you just want to ski recreationally because accommodations out there are crazy expensive and the mountain closes very early, so you have to be there super early, and it's like a couple-hour drive from Vancouver. So like I'm okay doing 1 day there, but more than that gets a little bit too rich for our blood. So not having a 1 day pass is kind of a disappointing considering how much the lift tickets cost these days. It's just kind of nuts.
Yeah, business.
Mm,
Business is business. But like,
business.
did you make like videos? Or
No, not really. Uh, you see some people with like GoPros, usually like
Mhm.
younger guys, where they do their shredding and tricks and whatnot. They have their fancy GoPros. Where personally, I'm a bit too pedestrian for capturing my snowboarding on camera. I just do it
Yeah,
for
you
my own
used to.
enjoyment.
But you used to at some point, no?
We had a fellow with us, and he had like one of those like 360 stick cameras, and he was recording bits and pieces of it. But we don't really, I don't even have a GoPro or any tiny camera like that. So
Yeah.
no.
But but the reason why I asked the question about videos was because I think recently on one of the social medias, there's this person I follow on Twitter. Okay, Twitter. And she took a like time off work and to for some vacation. And then I saw that during that vacation she was taking like videos and like trying to make content for like social media. And then I started thinking about it. Like I feel like in this age, this is the new way to take vacations. Like you actually spend some time, part of your vacation to actually like do stuff you think for yourself, but in the moment you're still like doing something for like work or something.
Yeah,
Even like making a video, making content,
I
like
don't know.
this kind of thing.
To me, it seems kind of psychotic. I mean, I did take my laptop with me, mostly so
Mm-hmm.
that, if I like, well, it's much easier to buy tickets using it, and like if I wanted to watch a show or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to pay as little attention to the work chats as possible because just why would I? This was specifically the time to get away from all that. So
Yeah. Mm.
yeah, no, I don't know. I don't subscribe to that. I mean, I don't take too many pictures or videos, which is maybe not such a great idea considering. Somebody from our friend group recently uncovered some photos from like 20 years ago. And I mean, they're all mostly cringe, but they bring back some memories. So maybe taking
Yeah,
more
of course.
photos would be better.
Yeah.
But considering the most of them were cringe, I don't know how cringe your new one's gonna be. Probably less so, because everyone's adult now and not doing dumb things. Uh, but we take occasional photos here and there. But I don't have the desire to be um, capturing every waking moment and posting it on socials. That just seems so psychotic to me that I don't get it. I honestly don't get it.
Yeah, you and me. But how do you then plan your time with like content creation then?
Well, I mean, this is my only content creation besides an occasional
Yeah.
post in my blog, so
Mm-hmm.
it's timed fairly trivially. We get down on Wednesdays and we record an hour and a half of content, and then throughout the week I spend some time cutting it and processing it and getting it ready for publishing, and then I don't have to think about it anymore. So yeah, it doesn't take that much time.
I mean, so what I'm driving at is it's not just I speak maybe for you it is like you already know what you're doing.
Mm,
But sometimes like when certain people, for example me, certain people want to like create content across like social medias, you you need time to like plan. You need time to the execution of the plan.
mm-hmm.
You also need time to like do some checks. You need there is a lot of things to do.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not I'm not specifically asking how you do yours, but I'm just curious about how like
yeah.
how
Well,
you would suggest people to like go through all of this to create quality content for
Well,
social
that's a
media.
good question. That implies that the content I produce is quality, which is maybe, maybe it's decent. It's okay. It probably can be better with more effort put in. Well, it can anything can be better with more effort put
Mhm.
in. That's for
Of
sure, right?
course,
But
of
in
course.
in terms of planning, um, I mean, I have a short production checklist, but it's short enough that I don't have to look at it every time. But it's just like the basic things because, well, for this format, uh, like it's mostly driven by questions. Like there's no script, there's no pre-planned talking
Mhm.
points, so it's all just live and as is, right? So
Mhm.
at least on my side, there isn't much planning that goes into this. I just show up and we
Yeah.
speak, and you have your
Mhm.
questions, and I have something to say about that, and we do the back and forth, right? But I think
Mhm.
if you're producing deliberate content in a sense that you do have a script or talking points, then obviously that needs to be organized. I think that a lot of people probably settle on their own thing. I don't think there's like a universal thing. Maybe if you're like a movie studio and you have your exact breakdown of your entire production process, like with all the phases, and what everybody knows what to do in every phase, and you need to wrangle like 100 people to get everything going, then obviously you need a lot of formality in it. But if you're just you and you're doing all of the content yourself, I think eventually after doing it a bunch, you'll figure it out. Um, I was watching this podcast a couple of days ago, which was another one of the modern wisdom podcasts. And I was
Yeah,
actually
okay.
thinking that, like, Joe Rogan is probably one of the most entertaining podcasts out there, but the Modern Wisdom is one of the probably most useful podcasts out there in terms of the kind of conversations that they have. Like if you would just learn something new and kind of neat, you'd listen to Joe Rogan. But if you want to learn something that actually helps you with your life, you probably want to listen to Modern Wisdom, I would say. At least the ones that I listen to. But anyway, the point being is they were talking about this. I don't know if it was like an experiment or just a situation, but it's like in a pottery class, a group of people were asked to produce one perfect clay jug, and they're given, I don't know, 500 hours to complete it. And based on their final result, their competency is going to be judged. So they just have to do one the best that they can. And then the other group are given 500 hours, and their goal is set to them as produce as many clay jugs of whatever quality you can in the given time, and whoever makes the most wins. And in the end, the people who produced the most, the quality of their final pieces was much better than the ones that were just doing the one this entire time. Because with every iteration, you get to learn about what you're doing wrong. So you can't just come in and do one thing perfectly just once right from the start, because you need to trip over all of the things and hit all the corners and stub all of your toes, and then you figure out what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong and improve and improvise, right? So clearly we're doing 27 right now, and if you put it side to side with number 1, the differences are probably going to be quite noticeable. So that's just it, right? And the amount of time it took me to even get everything ready for that one in terms of like audio production and video editing and all that took probably like 10 times longer than it takes me now, right? So yeah, repetition helps.
I get this, but this is true. I think repetition for sure helps, and anything you do with time for sure will grow. But there are different types of content. For example, this is video, the one that has to do with like editing. But I imagine if you are putting up content on your blog, you would have a plan for the content that you want to put on your blog, or probably if you have to make a presentation somewhere, like in a group to talk about some technology or some tool somewhere, there is a different type of effort that you will make for this type of content, and the challenge that I see is that sometimes if you also have to work, or like you have other things that also occupies your time, it's a bit challenging to find the consistency, which is the main key for any kind of creativity,
Yeah.
To find the consistent time to always do all these steps,
I think there's probably, I feel like there's a misconception. I think that people think that creativity is this sort of nebulous, amorphous thing that comes and goes, and here it is now, and 5 minutes later it's gone, and you sit there and like, oh my God, where's my muse? I can't do anything. Woe is me. You get the writer's block and you just sit there. But there's like so many accounts of people who are making themselves produce creative output regardless of the circumstances, and through volume alone and repetition, obviously, they get better and they can invoke creativity on demand eventually, right? So if you can plan an hour and a half a week to record it, you can sit down and record it. And the problem is not even, it's like, yeah, I guess if you have to do something more sophisticated, you have to like write a script, proofread it, structure it, organize it, record it, maybe do additional takes, cutting. Like it's a huge process, right? But a lot of it is mechanical. Like for me, cutting the video for this podcast is a very mechanical work. Well, I mean, it's very simplistic. Like I don't really do anything. And in all fairness, it is one of my goals is to not like this is production of a good enough level, because obviously you can spend, you know, infinity time making everything better. But you know, I have other things to do, and this is not my sole.
This is the question actually.
Right. So that,
So
yeah,
like when you have, how do you balance the other things you have to do with also quality on these other things that also should get done?
right. Well, I think you have to figure out what level of quality you aspire to, because, you know, there's like throwaway quality, there's good enough quality, and then there's like superb quality, and all of them require entirely different amounts of effort invested. And you have constraints. You gotta understand, like, you will not be able to do everything 100%. You still need to pick what you do. So if you spend 8 hours a day working on your day job, you cannot spend the same 8 hours producing content for your content, you know, blog, vlog, podcast, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that's kind of the struggle is, I think, I don't know if I don't know if it's universal, like if everybody aspires to just take their social media production to such a level where they can live off of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And neither I think people should want that, because one of the things that separates you know, hobby from a profession is, if it's a hobby and you don't do it, there's nobody there to breathe down your neck about it. It's like you don't feel like it, you know. Like if you play sports, I don't know, you play
Yeah.
soccer, right? And it's a
Mm-hmm.
hobby for you, and it's a nice sunny day, and it's a beautiful weather. It's not too hot, like not too cold. You get your friends out, you go and you kick the ball around, you play some soccer, you have some fun. But if you're a professional and it's 3 degrees and pissing rain out there, half with sleet, and you have to wake up at 6 a.m. and go play soccer because you're a professional and you have to train. And if you
Yeah.
don't go, not
Mm.
only you're setting up your friends to fail, you know, there's like this whole cascade of things that will happen if you don't do that. And you have to force yourself to do it, right? So as soon as you make that switch from doing it as a hobby to doing it as a pro, it comes with all of these strings, right? Which
Mhm.
you can't just be like, man, I don't feel like it. It's kind of like going to your work every day and then one day you just say, I don't feel like it. You know, it might fly once or twice, but eventually they'll notice and be like, what are you doing? If you keep doing that, we're gonna have to let you go. And so, and therein lies sort of the crux of the problem, is that if you're trying to take it pro, you ultimately need to sacrifice a lot of all the other things. You know, you have 24 hours in a day. You need 8 of them for your day work. You need 8 of them for your sleep, and you have the 8 remaining. And if you want to take it pro, then I don't know, probably 7.5 of those should probably go toward, you know, making the best possible product you can. Otherwise, like if you want to get it off the ground quickly, you have to put out a lot of volume too. I think I don't know for a fact, because I'm not a social media influencer by any means, but the name of the game is volume and constantly being in front of people's eyeballs. So it's like the more you are out there, the more you will be out there, right? Like you need the views in order to get more views, just how these algorithms work. And all podcasters, when successful ones, right, when you listen to them, they say, oh, you know, I was recording stuff for shits and giggles for 3 years, and then suddenly it hockey sticked, right? So there's this long ass period of no positive feedback and no payout whatsoever. And if your goal is to get there, then you have to kind of hit your head through the wall for those 3 years at least, right? For it to happen for you. And it's not a guarantee that it will either, right? So your only hope is to keep doing it and keep improving your quality, keep streamlining your process so things don't take as long, keep yourself disciplined so you can have creativity on demand when you need it, and have the time to do mechanical work of putting it all together, right? And, if you look at it from this point of view, it's like, who the hell wants to do that? That's so much effort
No,
for
but this is
so
good.
little payout,
No, it's good.
right? It's like maybe 5 years down the line, something happens and you never know. And yeah, like start it sooner. Like if you're in your 20s, do it now. Don't do it like me, but I'm not doing it again. I'm not necessarily doing
No.
it for that.
Mm-hmm.
This is still for fun. And, occasionally I'm thinking like, I don't really feel like sitting down and even doing the mechanical work. Like today, I worked pretty much the entire day doing this release, trying to just get a bunch of confirmations from different teams that, the APIs are working correctly and we're hitting the right things and not hitting the wrong things. And it just took a lot of time. So by the end, I was like, oh my God, I'm just exhausted. I don't really feel like doing it. And still, this is a hobby. I can afford not to. It's not like there's thousands and thousands of people waiting for something new to drop. There's a handful of people waiting for something to drop.
Yeah.
They are. They just don't know it
Yeah.
yet, right?
Yeah.
But again, right?
Mm-hmm.
That what separates it. And eventually, if it takes off for whatever reason, I probably won't be able to afford to keep doing it low key like this. My room, the green screen, a couple of lights, and a mic, right? Like you have to, like the other trend that you see with those guys. Do you know this? Was it? I think Marquise Brownlee, the guy who does like electronics reviews and IT related stuff.
I don't think so.
Well,
I
he's a
don't think his
fairly
name is
fairly
Marquis.
popular content creator, and recently he did a video that they bought some really fancy CNC robot, like 7 degrees of freedom in terms of the axes that it can rotate stuff. And he basically said, like, that robot cost me $100,000, but with
What?
it, I can mount a camera and I can program it to do like all these flybys and all these cool angles and
Oh,
effects and zooms and pans and all of these things that other people just can't do because they don't have $100,000 robot to do it for them. And so our production quality by that alone is going to be so much better because, when somebody reviews a cell phone, they all do the same thing and we can do a different thing because we have this tool. And sure, it costs a lot of money, but that puts us a level above everybody else, right? And so once you hit that level, you have to bring your game a level up from everybody else, and that requires even more time and effort and investment in all of these things, right?
this is true,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, this is the level we all hope to achieve, right? Like everyone hopes to get to a point where their
Yeah.
effort is being
Yeah.
rewarded.
I think a lot of people hope for it in terms of, wouldn't it be cool if I was a super popular YouTuber? But I guess once people start realizing how much effort actually goes into it earnestly, like how much effort you have to put in to be at that level. Like they're not at that level because they're at that level. They're at that level because they put all that effort. Like that's the effort put into it comes first, and then comes, so 3 years of grind with no recognition, and then a hockey stick, and then a lot of production values and quality and interesting conversations, right? So
Yeah.
they did not just wake up one day not doing anything of note and becoming a person of note. They had to struggle
Yeah.
for it for all the time. So I think all people wish for it. Most people don't realize the effort it takes, and those that do, a whole bunch of them probably drop off realizing that they can't pull it off, right?
Yeah, this is true. And this is the reason why I was asking about, like, you know, for people who are willing to put the effort, but they also have other priorities, like balancing and also finding the right amount of time to allocate for what the other priorities and also this effort. But I guess like from our conversation, I can say like it depends. Like it's about putting in as much as you can for a period of time, knowing that with the mindset of um it's gonna work. But
Maybe. It's
you
maybe
also
gonna work.
know
It's not
you
guaranteed, right?
also know, yeah, yeah, exactly. Like you said, it's not guaranteed, but at least the only thing you can do is believe, right? So you can believe. So I guess I guess this answered my question. It's just like I was just feeling from the post I saw on Twitter, I was just thinking, it just got me thinking that many people are currently like this right now. Like everyone tries to put something out. Some people even go as far as taking time off work to do other work. And it gets me thinking, like, how how did we get here? Like, does it mean that um so I know for some people it's a hobby, like you said, it's something we just do just because we have some spare time that we can actually spare. And for some people, some people call it like a side hustle or side thing. But everyone has like everything else they do in their life, and everyone has a way to plan their time, right? It's just it's just really intriguing for me to see that these days the number of people who actually do things outside of work that could potentially be profitable, it's a lot. And I wonder if this was the same like back in the days, like, like if this has always been the trend or it's just now that I'm noticing it.
I think that depends on the overall sort of economic situation. I guess if you have enough money for your daily life and the ability to, go to a trip a couple of times a year,
Mhm.
do you need to spend the time as a side hustle to make extra cash? Or like, do you need it? I know that there's some hungry people who just, they're driven by making as much money as possible, and good for them. But right now you're saying that this is more, it's becoming more widespread. Like the fact that you have to have a side hustle to almost survive, which is not ideal, I would say. That to me, that kind of shows that the overall economic health is not so great. It's like why can't you afford, maintaining your lifestyle and your family on your salary without having to do other stuff and have other pursuits in your life besides just like nose to the ground grinding for cash, you know. I know that there's some people who will always do
Mm-hmm.
that, right? They they
Mm-hmm.
they have that drive. But for most people, I don't know. You look back 60 years ago, I don't think people did that en masse. Most people had their 9 to 5s and went back home to their families and did other things. It's not just like, oh my God, I gotta make some money. I gotta make some money. I remember it was a very familiar, like this vibe, like in mid 2000, like 2010s. Every time I would travel back to Russia to visit my family, I would kind of get that feeling back then over there that everybody's trying to do some sort of grind and hustle to make some extra cash. And, back in those days, I was thinking whether or not I should, live in Canada or if I should go back and try my luck out there. And I remember having this feeling of coming there and it's like, oh my God, like if you can't survive without a side hustle, like, is it worth it? Because at the time in Canada, I was working in IT. I wasn't making crazy money, but I was making enough so that I didn't have to like really deal with this constant lack of cash. It's not a perfect example because okay, I didn't have a family. I was single. Like I didn't have to spend that extra money to support my family. It's just myself, so it's much easier. But I just remember saying, "Is like, do I want that? Like, do I want to constantly have this question on my mind? It's like, okay, where can I make more money?" Because I was talking to some of my friends, my schoolmates that I went to school with, and throughout the conversation, you can kind of feel what's nagging at them by the remarks that they make, and everybody's just like money, 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 money. I was like, oh my God, this is just I didn't want to be there, right? And so it ended up being that, I ended up remaining here, and now the situation is tough. I just learned from a former coworker that the company he was working for laid off like 4,200 people in a day. And everybody, like another friend got laid off a couple of days ago. So that company laid off a bunch of people too. And you hear about all the big IT companies. So it's like very precarious situation right now, right? So, and the thoughts of, okay, how can we make some extra money are floating up more and more. And I don't like it. I'd rather not. I'd rather the economy be in a state where I didn't have to do that. But, we don't always get what we want.
Let's digress a little bit.
Sure.
Do you know why these companies do this? Have you looked into it yet?
I looked into it a little bit, but I looked into it by, watching people who read some sources that cite other sources. So it's not like firsthand knowledge. It's just some again, industry YouTube personalities covering it in some ways. And apparently, and I don't know how much of an effect it's having, but apparently in the States, some years back when they were doing the budget, I don't know exactly how their system works, but in my understanding, there was a provision in a law put in as a sort of bargaining chip, in a sense of like, when it comes time to vote, if we want something from you, we can give it up so you can have something you want, that type of stuff, like a negotiation deal between like the two parties in US. And that provision basically said that software companies cannot expense R&D anymore, only to 10%. So if a company spent $1 million on R&D, like paying salaries for their developers who are building new products, and that company made $1 million in revenue, under old rules, because they write it all off, their profit is zero. So they don't pay any taxes on it, right? But now, since 2024, they can only write off up to 10% of that. So if you spend $1 million doing R&D and you earn $1 million, you can only write off 100,000. Now you have to pay taxes on $900,000 of profit, which is not profit because, you didn't really actually make any money off of that. And I think that changed the equation quite a bit. And now having legions of developers is actually quite a massive liability. So I think in some ways it could attribute to so many companies starting to dump their human resources because they simply can't afford to do that anymore. I don't know if it's a big contributor. It's just one of the things I heard.
But this is in the US.
It's in the US, but we're in a global integrated economy. A lot of these companies that even in Canada, people who are working for American companies, they could get subject to that, I imagine, just because the bottom line is shared across all geographies.
Yeah. So, but it's just like, yeah, you're right, because most times we only hear about things like this from like companies from the US. So it definitely, maybe it really has something to do with like the taxes or like the cost of R&D, like you said.
I think the other thing too is that I think that a lot of companies, they kind of slam the brakes on the publicity of their layoffs and are trying to find ways to kind of not bring too much attention to how many people they actually lay off, because that doesn't look good. That creates panic in a sense. The funny thing is that by doing that, I think, again, not an expert in any way, but just from something that I heard, is that, if they lay off so many people, that means that the money that they have to spend to pay them, they don't have to spend it anymore, and their share price goes up. So from a stock market perspective, if they dump a bunch of people on the street, their share price goes up. So it's business as usual. Actually, it's even works out to be better for them short term. I don't know, again, to what extent that is true. Maybe
I hope
at least partially.
I don't want to believe this because this will be cruel, you know. But
We
who
talked
can?
about retaining loyalties to business and how stupid idea that is. So yeah, it would be cruel. Yeah, and
What do you mean end? What do you say that like it's nothing? Like
I mean,
this
for a
is
person being laid off, it's everything. But for a company laying off 10,000 people, you know, as a certain Soviet political personality of 20th century said, a death of one is a tragedy, but a death of million is a statistic.
hmm, oh well. Good
Yeah.
to know. Anyway, okay. So back to what we're talking about. I'm curious
Back to
about.
something more positive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about that. I was gonna ask you earlier about we're talking about content and like, but as a creator yourself and um yeah, of course you are.
Well,
So
I am
what are some what are
technically
some
speaking.
what are your favorite type of contents to actually consume these days? Because of course there are different types for different moments and everybody has like their own go-tos. But I'm curious, what are yours? What are you listening to, reading, or watching these days?
Right. Uh, good question. So, as I've mentioned before, like I'm not really on social media in its conventional sense.
Mhm.
Like I don't have a Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat or any of that stuff. So my exposure to social media is twofold. I think the biggest channel for me is YouTube. Like I spend a lot of time on YouTube, for better or for worse. And then the second one is Telegram. And Telegram is a messaging app, but it's more of a enhanced messaging app because you have groups and you have channels. So groups are like group conversations. Those I mostly limit to like IT related things, like some languages or frameworks or whatever, where you can actually give answers or get answers. So they're like, I read through them, but I mostly skim. And then there's channels, and channels are kind of like one way. So it's like one person distributing their stuff to thousands of people, but it's mostly one way. There's comments on some or reactions, but usually it's one way. And in there, I do have some news and usually just some stupid memes to brighten my day. So I don't spend that much time on Telegram. It's mostly for like actually talking to people and yeah, occasionally browsing some funny pictures. But then YouTube occupies the rest. It's kind of funny. I've been using it so much that the pattern of the clip is burned in
Mhm.
on my phone's LED screen. Like if I set it to solid color, you can actually see the differences in shade where like the YouTube window is. It's because of how much I watch it. And it's a little like, I mean, I do listen to a bunch of long form podcasts. So I mentioned like Modern Wisdom. Joe Rogan, not so much. Ever since he departed from YouTube, I just find it too obnoxious to go to another app. Uh, I watch some like political commentary stuff, uh, some electronic stuff, some like hacking stuff, like recordings from DEF CON and various conferences like that, like security things. Uh, so sometimes music, but yeah, my playlist kind of collapsed. It does that periodically where you just sort of start getting more and more of the same stuff. And I also watch gaming content for the games I can't have time to play by myself. So
Yeah, fair
yeah.
enough. Like, have you ever considered making gaming content yourself?
No. I mean, I thought about it briefly, but again, if I want to have fun playing games, I don't need to stream it. So I
What
don't
if
have a
you do?
I don't have a goal to turn it into a thing because I like if you want to be a gaming content creator, you have to play games like 24/7. And I just can't do that, you know. So there's literally
I
no
don't think
point.
it's 24/7.
Oh, it's a lot.
But
It's a lot.
this is you to decide. It's just I was curious because I think we might have spoken at some point where you mentioned that you spend like uh, some time,
Yeah.
quantity of time to play. But honestly, I was considering it, at some point. But it's just that I don't even the kind of games I play. I kind of like I play sports games like
Yeah. Yeah.
soccer games, and maybe I will try at some point. But I think I also realized that you need a setup, a different type of setup to be able to stream to stream.
Plus, you know, if you're streaming, like streaming just the game, so you know, there's a couple of possibilities. The easy mode is if you're an attractive woman and you play some video games and you show some cleavage, and then you don't even have to have commentary. People will watch it anyway, right? So that's a thing. If you're a guy and you want to play games, like if you don't provide commentary, then like, okay, well, there's a billion people who do, so why would they watch you? And if you want to provide commentary, well, first of all, you have to be good at the game, or at least funny about how you suck at the game. So you have to be expressive. You have to be able to play the game and narrate at the same time and keep it funny and engaging. And it's hard. It's again, you know, some people who play an instrument, like some people who play guitar, but they cannot play guitar and sing at the same time because it's like that much harder, right? Because they lose all of the focus on playing once they start singing.
Yeah.
So narrating as you play the game and keeping it engaging, it's a tough job, you know. So again, there's that chasm of getting good for a bunch of years at both the game itself and how you highlight the things that are happening and how you turn it into something that is actually entertaining to watch. Because what the other things that I notice right now is what happens these days is a lot of people, they stream and they have these long ass sessions, like 5-hour long sessions playing some game. And then they cut it down into something more digestible and they put it on YouTube as clips or as long form content, where they might do voiceover or do some creative cutting and things like that, right? But first, you still have to play the game for 5 hours on stream live. And, you know, especially for some of the sweatier games, like, I don't know if I would be entertaining in a classical sense when I just rage out because I get shot like 25 times in a row. Like, I mean, yeah, so somebody with some like morbid enjoyment of that might enjoy that content, but mostly you want for people to play well, right? And win. And like if you just suck for 5 hours straight, like who wants to watch that? They can open the game and do that thing themselves. They want to watch somebody that's actually good. Which is, again, I remember seeing some content creators, like there was this guy, he like started at this game brand new, never played that game before, and at first he was terrible, but he had a lot of goodwill from all the other games that he did before, and then he turned into a freaking Giga Chat, and now he just dominates, and it's like, okay, yeah, fair enough. But again, that's like his 9 to 5 is just playing games, and it again, it turns from hobby into this like, you have to do it even though you hate it and you'd rather not. You just still need to go out and do it. So the whole creator economy is very, very paradoxical because, you know, like if people put this much effort into their day jobs, because like if you think about what we just said, like you have to grind for like 3 years, putting all of your time into it on an off chance that it might, you know, explode and you get picked up or noticed or whatever in your channel, like skyrockets and you start getting sponsorship deals and all that stuff. But like if you're putting that grind for like 3 years at your day job, like how far would you go through the ranks, meanwhile getting paid a salary every month that is guaranteed, you know? Like that stuff is kind of mind-boggling. But I think the payout if you hit it big with social media is disproportionate. And I think that's why people go for it. Because you know, you're not, but again, how many people actually make it to the top, right? Out of
a lot,
but like A lot in what way?
Do you know something? I'll
Yeah.
tell you something. You see, from my perspective, I think content creation has given everybody, it feels like a level playing field. Anybody can get big. Anybody, you don't even need like to have any form of qualification, any form of anything. I've seen certain people that people make content that you would consider as waste of time, you know, that maybe you would consider as waste of time, like what
Mm-hmm.
is this? And this type of content has gone ahead to create so many channels for them in life. It's it is what it is. It's just it's difficult to explain. So it kind of puts a lot of perspective. So if you ask anybody now, would you rather invest 3 years in the traditional job or invest 3 years in modern job? Because like you said, playing games, creating videos, this is a 9 to 5, this is the real job. And these are like the modern jobs that we have these days. Which one would you rather have? And the mathematics is almost difficult to defend because
Well, I think
the
it's fairly straightforward to defend, to be honest with you, because, well, first of all, you can't have like, you need financing to run this thing, you know? Like, more than half of my paycheck every month goes to just support my lifestyle, which is not exuberant in any way, right? It's just average. Well, not average. I'd say it's above average, but not by much. So if I did not have my day job, like, I cannot just quit my job and do this for 3 years. I don't have the financial runway to do so. So the question
yeah, this is
becomes,
it.
where do you get the money to finance it while you are
Mm-hmm.
not getting
Mm-hmm.
it big, right? That filters out a lot of people immediately because they just don't have the kind of money to do it at that level for that long. And
Yeah, this is true.
the other theme is I've seen from all the successful people in this space is that they are very monomaniacal about it. That's like the thing that they put all of their attention into for a very extended period of time. Like, look at any ultra popular podcast and find episodes where they talk about it, about how they achieved what they have. And it's like, yeah, it's been brutal for 3 years, 2 years, 5 years, however long, you know? So, and then, look at how many billions of hours people upload to YouTube every day. It's like, yeah, it's very democratized. Anyone can do it. I mean, you can have a potato webcam and you're good to go, right? You don't really need that
Yeah,
much to
yeah, there's
start.
this guy.
But
Yeah.
sorry, let me finish. But it's the same thing. Like, it's the same thing that happens with like the advent of App Store for the iPhone. It's just billions of crappy apps that nobody gives a shit about. And then some that make insane amount of money, like Flappy Bird made millions,
Hmm.
but there's like
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of apps that made dick all, and like, that's exactly the kind of things, right? It's like a very small percentage of people will get all the spoils and the rest will get barely anything. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I did find a winning formula though, but it's highly specific. It is very, very
Shit.
specific. I'll tell you the secret of how to become a YouTuber with a lot of views and a lot of subscribers.
Tell me.
Okay, so you need to be in US or in Europe broadly, and you need to review either classical, like not classical, but like Russian music or movies from like the Soviet era, and just do the reaction videos to it. That's it.
Oh.
You know why? Because a lot of Russian people have this thing that, American people liking their content or enjoying their content is like something unusual, and they flock to comments. They're like, oh my God, this American guy, he listens to our music, he gets it. And I see this guy, like, literally, this guy I kid you not, like potato camera, like a laptop, like a crappy laptop camera, no lights. You can barely see his face. He's just like in the shadow. You can kind of see his mouth. And he plays these music, like he plays like good music, like the music from my childhood that, you know, was like very well done. The standards for modern entertainment were a little bit different back then. And he would be like, yeah, this is really good. Thousands of comments, all in Russian, praising him, saying how great it is, like hundreds of thousands of views. Literally zero effort. And I saw like at least like 5 or 6 different people doing the same thing, and they all had crazy views and they all had crazy comments. And I'm pretty sure those weren't even bots, because people legit like watching foreigners reacting to their cultural legacy in a positive way. So it's foolproof. Take it.
This is true.
Take it and go.
You know what? This is true. I have seen people, you know, this is true. This is a very good point. You know what? Maybe we should keep this information and have only.
I'll edit it out. I'll blur it out from the final version. It's like the secret knowledge. Join the Patreon to learn the secret.
Exactly.
There is no Patreon, by the way.
But yeah, this is actually like I think it's a thing. I don't think it's just Russians. I think it's...
I've seen Nigerians reacting to like French songs or something, and it's basically same effect.
Yeah.
Like if you have like 2 different cultures that are not like really interfacing that much with another, and they do appreciate each other's stuff, there's going to be a ton of people very happy about the fact. So
yeah,
there.
This is true. But
easy,
do you think
easy 500,000 followers right there.
But do you think that because you work in when it comes to content creation, right? Do you think that because you work in tech, your content have to be tech? Do you think you can work in tech and then make content about butterflies?
If you're interested. Okay, so here's the other thing too. It's like the difference between the hobby and the profession is that I make tech content because I enjoy tech things, right? And I feel proficient enough in them that I think that I have something to say. Like I suck at games, so playing games I probably wouldn't stream because I'm quite garbage at it, and it wouldn't be interesting. And I don't nearly enjoy butterflies to be making content about them. But again, if you're a professional and you're finding a niche where you think you can make a lot of money in, you have to make content for that, whether you like it or not. But I don't think it matters. Again, this is just the 2 different goals. Is your goal maximum financial output? Dude, people, as you said, people make just cringiest content possible. Like I look at it and it's just like, oh my God, that is just so soul destroying. But they get money out of it. So, you know, they do it. Yeah, which is, I don't know. I may be quite categorical about it, but to me that feels a little bit like some sort of mental prostitution. It's just like, I'm doing this thing for money. And, you know, like a very, very kind of sad fact that I don't know how many people know it. You know OF, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Everybody knows.
So do you know what an average monthly income is on OF?
I don't think it's that high at the average though.
I think they say it's around $130.
Yeah, probably.
So imagine selling your soul for $130 a month. You know, you can probably make more money panhandling in front of a McDonald's with less embarrassment because fewer people will ultimately know about it without like horrible long-term consequences for the rest of your life. So that to me is mind-boggling. And yeah, like the top 1% makes insane amount of money, which I still don't necessarily like. If you want to do it, do it. I think there's many first, second, and third order consequences to doing that will manifest themselves in various ways. But, you know, hell, we live in a free society. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. But you see, this is a different, these are adult content. Like, I don't know if this is not part of the category of content that I was talking about, but this is a choice. Yeah. To choose a content, like what you want to create, this is a choice. It's just, the question I was asking was like, most people tend to So for example, I was in a meeting sometime and we were talking about writing. We were planning a blog, and someone in the meeting seemed to have a lot of knowledge about like medicine. I'm not sure if she's a doctor, but she's somewhere in that industry. And we're talking about this blog, and we're talking about how we will create the contents for this blog. Who will be, I'm not in medicine, I'm a software engineer. So like, if we, if I write this content, maybe I know what I'm saying, but there is also like the how do you say that? That the it's more valid if it comes from someone in the industry. So for example, if I'm talking about Ruby on Rails
Yeah.
and how Ruby on Rails works, because I use this as a software engineer, like
Yeah.
for work, I have some industrial
Oh
backup.
yeah, yeah.
So
You're a more trusted source than just a
exactly,
rando spouting their opinions. Yeah.
exactly. So I was saying like, but now does this kind of like tie you to the industry? Say, for example, if you work as a doctor, an engineer somewhere, whatever you do in life, do you have to create content based on your expertise, or you can do whatever you like? So, for example, I'm a tech guy. If I like to create content about fitness or create content about um, food,
Yeah.
or create content. And I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. I had really don't know if what I'm saying is scientifically correct or not. But just because it worked for me and I like it, and I'm
Yeah.
creating this content, what does this make me? A good person, or like, um, it doesn't matter. Everybody should check out the facts and choose what they want.
Well, that's a more, it's a kind of a gray area in a sense that, you know, if you're honestly believed to be what you're saying is true, then there's that. But if you're like deliberately saying falsities for some sort of gain personally, that's
Mm.
very unethical, right? Like you could be wrong, and I mean that's why I, I preface a bunch of things with all these disclaimers. This is like, oh, this is just my opinion. I don't really know that
Mm.
because I don't really know that. That is my just my opinion, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that, I can like link you to a study or something like that proving that. It's just blah 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 for most part. So whatever, who cares? I'm not pretending to some universal truths here. Uh, so like you don't have to be anything to talk about things that you like, right? I think you'll be more genuine if you talk about the things you actually know or actually like. Because I think a lot of the things that is missing from modern content is the genuine aspect of it. Everything is doing a performance. Everybody's doing a character. So many YouTube videos start with "Hello YouTube." It's just oh my god, it's so annoying. Just like
Mhm.
nobody talks like that. I understand why you're doing it, but this is silly. Like I get it. That probably improves conversion and retainment or whatever.
Mhm.
Those metric driven, it makes some line go up. So, good for you. But it's just fake. And I think people who make genuine content are more popular than the ones who don't. I don't know if Joe Rogan's podcast is so popular because of impeccable accuracy of the facts that him and his guests are providing. But you feel like this guy is genuine, he's in his element, he's enjoying the conversation, and I think you can sense that in a way. And I think that, to fake that convincingly, you have to be a complete psychopath to be able to do that with like a lot of training, right? And so genuine
So it's
content
not.
genuine content wins over non-genuine content, right? But
I don't know. I
what is
don't
it?
know. Yeah, I
Genuineness
don't
is
know.
hard because like, you know,
I don't
um,
know. I don't know. I feel like this will be like saying the patient dog is the fattest bone. that would be true. But
I think I missed.
that's if there is any bone left.
Oh, I think I missed that metaphor entirely. Can you repeat it? What did you say?
Okay, it's like saying the patient dog eats the fattest bone.
Oh, okay. The patient dog eats the fattest bone. I never heard that expression before.
Oh, okay. So like, it's to say like it's like what you're saying. Like, genuineness can be better than
Fakery.
the fake or planned or whatever. Maybe fake is not the word, because content is content either ways, as long as it is put out. So
No, I don't mean the content itself. I mean the person presenting it. Right.
I would argue, I would say, and just being an advocate here, right? Like, Joe Rogan is a very big name in podcasting,
But he wasn't always like that, right?
and he's also a businessman.
Yeah.
So I would not really like hands on the chest vouch for him like that. That is a
Fair enough.
always genuine.
It's much easier to be genuine when you're making $1 billion. You don't have to give a shit about literally anything at all.
You know, so there will be some things, but the thing is, like, I get the point. But this now brings me to the question now. Sometimes people speak of genuinity like, oh, you have to, but I think it's relative, you know? Like, when you speak of content people make these days, and they say like, oh, this is original content, and that it is, I don't know if there is anything that can specifically be labeled original, in the sense that most times, most of everything already has, like, if you were inspired by something, then it's not really your idea.
Right, but I guess original and genuine are different dimensions, right? You can be completely derivative and still be super stoked about it, and that would show, you know, in your thing that you're making. It doesn't have to be about something that nobody ever done before. That's not the criteria that I was kind of focusing on. It's mostly about, you know, I said, like, if you want to do it for money, you'll have to make content even about the things you don't like and pretend like you like them. And if you're pretending that you like something, you're by definition not genuine. And I think that in order for that not to show super blatantly, it takes a lot of effort. And to me, that's what I call soul destroying, is because you are ultimately lying to yourself through the thing that you do, you know?
Yeah, this is hard. But yeah, it is. Do you think this comes with the business?
Comes with the territory? I guess in some extent, I think so. I don't know.
That's sad.
You have to do you have to sell your soul to the devil in order to do it? And I have no idea.
That's a very deep way to say it. No, this is just YouTube. There's no, I don't think there is any sales going on here.
Is it any different? Like, you know, all of these guys with their Raid Shadow Legends or their NordVPN or whatever, reading the script about how NordVPN or whatever VPN protects you from malicious actors, and like, oh, if you're not on VPN, your stuff is unencrypted. And it's complete horseshit. Everybody switched to HTTPS like freaking 10 years ago. Like, even if you're not using a VPN, all of your traffic is still like 99% of it is encrypted. So that's a false claim. And I have no problem spouting it out. And okay, if you're a culinary blogger that talks about food and you're sponsoring a VPN channel and you know nothing about it, okay, maybe, fair enough. But if you're a tech guy and you're saying how this and that VPN protects your traffic, it's like, give me a freaking break. You know better than that. So you did sell your soul to the devil. And that's exactly what it is. Like, that is just horseshit. You should know better. You should know that that's not entirely true. It's technically correct, which is the best kind of correct, as we know, but it is not. That's not the point. That's not the point.
Technically is sufficient.
Exactly. I mean, but that's the thing, right? It's this you know, it's the sins of omission, you know?
Yeah.
So
as you are right now, who would you, if you have to be do a PR or be an ambassador for a company based on the content that you produce, which companies would you want to represent? Would you like to represent?
Wow, that's, phew, I don't even know. I guess, like, in order to represent a company, for me personally, I would probably have to be like brand loyal or whatever. But
Yeah. Do you have certain brands that you're loyal to?
that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, does that really kind of play into my decision when buying things? It's a hard question. I guess even if as I look at my desk, like everything that I have on it is from different brands. So, you know, it's really kind of hard to say.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know it's
Yeah. I don't know.
it, well, yeah, but there will come a time, but
Maybe. Maybe.
maybe, yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Maybe. I was just asking just to see the kind of like brands you would like
Yeah.
to defend because I know like there are certain people who have um like how do you say that? Like they see life differently.
Hmm.
I see there are some people that nowadays if I see their videos, whatever you're saying, whatever they're saying, I just know it's a lie. Like I just know this person is lying. No,
Right.
there's no if they might even be saying the truth, but to me it's a lie because
Yeah.
I've seen them sell certain things that
Well, yeah, that's
they
the thing.
know
Like
nothing about.
you do something once, you destroy your credibility once and for all,
It's not even,
and that's
yes,
it.
once
Yeah.
once is like the least, but at times when you have seen these people being in the cross for like multiple times, selling things that ends up being a scam to other people, like you just know. And
Yeah.
I get it. Like you say you are doing it because you don't know about it, or like you just it's business and your job was just to tell people about it. Like if you don't do it, someone else will, whatever. However, you like to say things to justify yourself to sleep at night. It's the choice you make.
Yeah.
But the point is, um, at some point, everyone gets to choose a side.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's just a thing that you end up doing at some point. So
I
I
think
guess I was just
yeah.
curious.
I think I do have an answer for you in terms of what company. And
Please.
if it ever gets there, I'll probably shill my girlfriend's perfume store because things that they
Oh,
sell
that's a
smell
really nice
nice
one.
and it brings money to the family. So why wouldn't I do that?
This is good. And what's this is really good. I'm sure she'll be proud.
Yeah.
She'll be really proud of this. Like,
Yeah.
of course, this is something you can do.
Yeah.
And
But the thing is
smelling
like,
it nice is good.
it's like, IT world, usually everybody works out of Sentry office. So that
Mhm.
Venn, they overlap on that Venn diagram of like people who work in IT and people who buy really fancy perfumes is like very, very slim.
I like
So,
perfumes.
well, you should order
Yeah.
some from her website, which I'll, leave down in the
Yeah.
comment.
Yeah, you should probably do. You should. To be honest,
Oh,
this is good, and it shows like how you would want to do your own kind of like branding and this kind of things. But all in all, it's a good lesson.
yeah,
It's really good.
yeah,
Thank you, Vasili. Thank you. I mean, one last question before we
sure.
go. I know the genre of podcast that you generally listen to, but I'm curious, like if you get to share your top five podcasts
Hmm.
at the moment, what would this be?
Specific episodes or just podcasts in general?
Just channels, Like let's
Just
say people who
channels.
are trying to build like a podcast portfolio for themselves and they just look for channels. I know
Right.
we both enjoy modern wisdom, and of course I know Joe Rogan will be on your list.
It's
I
on my
know I
it's
know
on
a
my
few people
yeah.
that you like.
It's on my list in a sense that, but I haven't listened to like a deliberate podcast in quite a while. Actually, the
I
last
could
Joe,
mention three people.
yeah. So I think I'll do it as a an annoying YouTuber thing, as an open-ended question. I'll just post those to the Telegram that you can join through the link above.
I know. You know what? I feel like I put you on the spot, but I kind of know like
Mhm.
the type of people you would listen to.
I'd have
And
to,
if I,
yeah, I'd have to probably look it up, but you know, so like Modern Wisdom, I listen to a lot of their stuff.
yeah.
I listen to the podcast of the Lotus Eaters. It's kind of more Europe oriented political
Hmm.
stuff, but they do cover American happenings and occasionally Canadian ones as well. And I just like their sense of humor in a sense. Uh,
Okay.
in terms of like the one podcast that I listen to quite extensively is the New Discourses. Although that one is very specific. It's not for everyone. It's a hard listen. And I use it two ways. I use it when I want to learn things, and I also
Hmm.
use it if I need to take a nap in the middle of the day because his voice puts me to
Makes you
sleep
to
if I'm
sleep.
tired. Yeah. So it's a tough balance, but it works
Yeah.
for either. It's very informative and very interesting, and at the same time, it can also be this thing that just makes you zone out completely. So very good, 10 out of 10, highly recommend.
Highly
Uh,
recommend. Okay.
well, I mean, okay, it's quite specific in its domain. So if you're not interested in the things that are happening in its domain, like that podcast is not for you. But check it out. Uh, I used to listen to a lot of JBP, not as much recently, strangely enough. And I do have a bunch of
Who is
like
JDP?
Jordan Peterson.
Exactly. I was waiting for you to say that. Like, I was waiting for you to say that. I thought that would be like number three or so.
Yeah. No. I mean, so right now, I guess after his switch to Daily Wire, I haven't been watching his content as much, but I do still watch it occasionally. Uh, and
What changed, though? Why?
I think that when I was listening to it, that was probably the bulk of it happened about 5 years ago. And it was a very different time in my life. And it was before he had a podcast. It was mostly his university lectures on like psychology and all the other things. Like I did get exposed to him through some sort of political cross pollination. So I went for a viral clip and I stayed for the rest of the content, so to speak. And it
Okay.
was quite instrumental for me at the time in my life. So, I'm kind of eternally grateful for that for sure. So I think in terms of getting practical utility out of it, it
Mhm.
probably exhausted itself somewhat. He does bring interesting people, and I think the content when it was lectures on psychology, I found a lot of things that kind of echoed with my situation, and I could kind
Mhm.
of see the things from different perspectives based on that. But right now, it tends more into like esoteric, like in a sense on religion. It's very interesting. It's just not the focus of the things that I'm looking for right now. And it's
Mhm.
always a super high quality content, and it's just it moved a little bit out of the domains of my interest. It less so. So I do listen to it sometimes, but not as much, not nearly as much. I used to like listen to pretty much just the entire playlist nonstop because it was very pertinent and it was very helpful for me at the time. But you know, I kind
It
of
served the purpose.
solved the things that were bothering me back then. So I don't need to re-listen to the same thing because it doesn't bother me nearly as much. So it's kind of lost a little
Mhm.
bit lost its usefulness. Not that it lost its usefulness, it's just
Served its purpose.
I've incorporated what I needed to incorporate, and so there's
Yeah.
no point in revisiting it as much.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
And yeah, and
One more.
like a bunch of stuff on carnivore. So like Sean
Yeah.
Baker's channel, he puts out a lot of shorts which are pretty humorous. He does this thing where he like puts some TikTok on the side and he's just eating this massive steak without even saying anything, and that person would be like yapping some crazy nonsense. It was just funny. And he does have long form conversations with people. There's a couple of other ones. I don't remember specifically offhand, but they do show up on my feed every once in a while. So they're like more long form content, carnivore content. It keeps me, I guess. So there's a bunch of channels that have to do with like the diet nutrition aspects. One of the ones, again, that is very informative but not for everyone is Professor Bart K. He's really intense. So again, his manner of presentation is not for everyone, but the quality of his content is superb if you can get past the abrasive nature. And then, you know, there's like Ancestral Health Foundation videos, which are conferences that are kind of like keto, paleo, carnivore type persuasion. So there's a bunch, really. And they're like highly specific to my interests. So I don't know if they're like very general public interests. I mean, anyone can listen to Joe Rogan or Modern Wisdom. Those are excellent podcasts. I guess fewer people would listen to Jordan Peterson. I guess first thing you have to get past is the infamy, I guess, which is entirely undeserved, I would say.
The what?
The infamy. Well, you know, the media paints him as a villain or something, and a lot of people, it puts off a lot of people, but I think they have no idea. We live in a weird time where people are perfectly ready to judge something without ever being exposed to the actual thing and just, you know, repeating the headlines they heard someplace else. Oh, there's this channel, there's this fellow that recently kind of got thrown into the public spotlight. I do not remember his name, unfortunately, but he's like a teacher, and he recorded a piece where he was like talking about a student, and a student was saying something about J.K. Rowling and that whole thing, and how she, like, you know, when the student opened his sentence with the phrase, knowing how J.K. Rowling is a bigot, therefore we can blah blah blah, and then the professor's like, well, can you, how did you arrive at that conclusion? The guy says, well, I a lot of the people agree, and he's like, well, is that your opinion, or you just agree with other people who agree? And he kind of like unrolled it to a point where a guy basically said, like, well, now that I've learned everything that I know, I feel kind of like an idiot because I had this complete different picture of this person, and now I feel silly. Right. And so what I'm saying is a lot of people have this preconceived notion that they picked up somewhere on social media about a person, and they just go on repeating without ever listening to any of what they have to say directly. It's just like hearsay on industrial scale. And so, yeah, if you get past that, for some of these people, their content is quite excellent.
I've listened to Jordan Peterson. I think he speaks with a lot of expertise. Like he seems to know what I'm not so sure if but I'll probably like check it out to understand the infamy.
Yeah.
Infamy,
yeah.
Yeah, because I think I learned things from him. And also, like where I saw him speak about carnivore diet, and I saw him give some talks about psychology. He was talking about dating these times and like how it works and like the psychology behind the selection and all this kind of thing. So
yeah,
I find him to, and of course sometimes like in these days, sometimes it's very, I guess this is another aspect of content creation and putting yourself out there. Like, it's easy to say something that certain people might not be comfortable with. And I don't know if he has said something or not, really, but I think I started to take some liking into him just because you like him, or like I know that you listen to him, you know.
But see, you can't make your opinion based on my opinion. You have to form your own.
No, no, it's just like I have some respect for the man because I think he knows he can defend what he's saying.
I guess a question just came to mind is like, which is worse, hating somebody based on somebody else's opinion or liking somebody based on somebody else's opinion? Like, which is better, which is worse?
I guess both of them are very
Like
they're on the same
both of them
scale.
kind of suck, right?
No, I don't think so because there is as long as it depends on the person.
Yeah.
So
I think it's
for
probably much easier to dislike somebody based on somebody else's opinion rather than like somebody. You know,
I
it's like saying, you know, oh, you know, I hated this movie, it was complete trash, and you just be like, well, I guess I'm not gonna watch it, and if somebody asks, I'd be like, yeah, I don't think it's very good. But
this
like, if
is
you tell
not
somebody, oh,
good.
I really like this movie, and then they watch it and they don't like it, then it doesn't translate quite the same, right?
No, I
It's
don't think so. I
it's
think this
easier to
is
put
a
people off things than to put
no, no,
people
no.
on
I
things.
think if no, I think it is easier to like someone because someone likes them.
Well,
This would be
that's more,
transferring of.
yeah.
But if you dislike something or someone because someone disliked them, then I think this is a burden because now you have to carry the feeling, and which feeling is easier to carry?
Well,
Hate or
I think both are kind of conformity, because in both cases you're not presenting your own opinion for the fear of being ostracized or ridiculed for it, right?
there is marketing, you know, and then in marketing, um, you sell yourself, you promote yourself, you put yourself in front of people.
Right, but there's no
So
such thing as
if
bad publicity, right?
there is no such thing as bad publicity, arguably, like there are different ways to view this, but you sell yourself in a way that you want to be bought. Like if someone tells me about certain person or certain people or like in your life, and then that is the that is how you have sold yourself to this person. So
But
now I'm
would
buying exactly what you sold. If this is for me to like you or for me not to think of myself to avoid you, this is you. So there is
but is it though?
there is
Is
also
it
this.
that Here's
No,
my
no, no.
question.
This is thing.
Here's my
It's real
question to
though.
you though. If you're selling yourself, if you're
Mhm.
selling yourself, is that genuine?
Why not?
Well, how could
Why
it
wouldn't
be?
it be genuine? I
Well,
don't
you're
know how it couldn't be.
because in order to be genuine, you have to be able to admit not only to the good things but also to the bad things. And in selling anything, you never admit to any bad things.
No, this is
You only highlight the good things, which is again
no,
a sin of
I
omission
don't
in a
agree. No,
sense.
no, no, no.
How
I
no?
don't. Okay, so I've been a salesman. I've sold before, sold things, and I've seen sometimes like I struggle with. In fact, I still sell. I struggle with selling things that I don't believe in. Like if I don't really like this thing, or if I don't trust that it does what I think it does, it's difficult for me to sell it because then I carry the guilt if I know that I have coerced you into buying something that I don't even know it's good. I feel guilty about this, but this is me, you know? And recently I was reading a book about, I think it's oh my God, one of those audiobooks on YouTube. And um, I learned from the book that everybody does this, whether intentionally or whether you're not doing it intentionally. Everyone creates an impression of themselves in in the world.
Yeah.
So if you can only do yourself good by being careful of the impression that you're putting out, or you can as well just put it out and say this is me and this is you.
Yeah.
But
But
I
that's
choose
exactly
what
what
I
I'm
want to
saying,
do.
right? Like
I choose what I want to do with it, with what you are giving me. If this is you, I choose it.
the exact point of being genuine is that the image that you project to the world and your actual personality match as close as possible. Because if there's a big gap between them, that's not being genuine. You're providing a fake
Yeah,
impression of
this is the
yourself.
problem. This is even difficult to maintain.
Right, but
you cannot maintain it for long.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, if you have to sell yourself, maybe it's just the way that I interpret the term, but to me it carries the connotations of, you know, highlighting the positives and pushing down the negatives, which widens the gap between your genuine self and the picture you're proposing of yourself out there, right?
No.
Well, why not? Why not?
This is okay. So this is kind
because if you are just your genuine self, you don't have to sell yourself. You just are.
If you are just as you are, and you are not, or you are something else, either ways you are still selling yourself. So like you can do it intentionally, or you can do it.
I think we just have a different interpretation of the term sell. When I think sell, I think promote. And you're never going to promote negative aspects of yourself. And in that interpretation, if you're promoting yourself, you call it selling yourself. If you promote yourself, you're going to be moving further away from your genuine self because you're going to be not so open about your bad sides and misgivings and all that.
This is a question of your own self integrity, your integrity.
Yeah.
I feel like if you have a certain level of integrity, it is difficult for you to, you cannot carry, I don't think you can carry an image that is not yours for so long.
For a while.
At some point.
For a while you could,
At some point, yeah, you could for a while, but at some point it just becomes uncomfortable for even you.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to be psychopathic to quite a big degree in order to pull it off.
So at the end of the day,
but even then, you know, even then they say that, you know, the psychopaths can't stay long in the same spot because they get uncovered eventually. So they constantly have to move around because they do get uncovered. So even if you're an actual psychopath, you still can't do it long enough because, as the saying goes, you can fool some people some of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time.
Exactly. This is a good note. A good note. So, thank you, Vasili. Thank you very much for your time today. It was really nice chatting with you.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you very much. It was a good conversation. More philosophical, more existential in a sense, but no, that was a lot of fun, and we have to expand on a topic. It feels like we have so many topics that we say, oh, we have to expand on that topic, and then we never come back to it.
We should really start paying attention.
We should just pay attention to these things and actually, you know, deliver. But anyway, if you're still with us, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and hopefully we'll see you in the future. Have a great night, everybody. Have a good day.
Have a great night.
Night, day. Have a great whatever.
Bye.
Bye.